What's up everyone? It is Neil Toussaint with TrickStrong, and in this video it is my job to convince you why you should always warm up before training movement. When I started tricking in 2005, no one was doing warm-ups. No one was progressing towards skills. Like, most people were just throwing skills as hard as they could and hoping they landed. If you've been following TrickStrong for a while, that you guys know that the whole premise of TrickStrong is to bring that evidence-based knowledge, science-based information we have from studies, from countless other people making mistakes. We have all this information, and what I want to do is, with TrickStrong, bring all that evidence-based knowledge into the movement artist realm. That includes performing artists, tricking, parkour, stunts, etc. Because most other sports have that knowledge embedded into its culture, embedded into its training methodology, and we don't have that for tricking, right? So in this video, like I said, I'm going to convince you that you should be warming up every single session, and we're going to be citing evidence and resources, and then lastly, we're going to be ending in how you should be structuring your complete warm-up. So let's get to it. Welcome to my whiteboard. This is the why and how of warming up. The why are the reasons you should warm up, and the how are how the research has found to achieve these benefits. So let me explain a little bit further. The first benefit of warming up is reduction in injury risk. Some studies have found a 20% reduction in injury risk, and some have found a 77% reduction in injury risk. Obviously, the 77% reduction is massive, huge, but I think, and I argue, that the 20% is also massive. So even if it's 20%, I mean, that's a 1/5. That's a really good reason to warm up. And they found that we were able to achieve this through strength, balance, and agility work. So each of these kind of correlates to a very well-run study. So that's a randomized control trial or a systematic review, things like a high-level evidence to show the benefits of these warm-ups. The second thing here is muscle elasticity is improved, and muscle tendon injuries are reduced. So they found that this was achieved through activity-specific warm-ups. Things like the FIFA 11, which are a warm-up that is for soccer players. And that was found in a separate study for 20 to 50% reduction in injury risk. Another study, gymnastics warm-up. So gymnastics specific warm-up led to a 77% reduction in ACL injuries. A really interesting part of this study that they found too is that adherence made it better. So obviously if you warm up on that day, there will be some protective benefits from that day, but some of the research has actually found a cumulative effect with warming up, which is awesome, right? That means that if you regularly warm up time and time again, some of these studies have found that there was a 6 to 12 week window that once you did it for 6 to 12 weeks, you were more resilient to injuries after having done it for a consistent amount of time. Staying consistent is another how to how we should be warming up. Another why: increase strength, increase power, increase mobility, increase capacity to deliver oxygen, increase nervous system response, so nerve conduction velocity. That's going to help with coordination, agility, balance, all these things that we've talked about above. They found increased vertical jump height. And a lot of these benefits, besides the first couple, they're in the 5 to 10% range. You're getting a 5 to 10% increase in vertical jump height and all the things I just said. That's massive. If you've watched the Olympics, they're fighting for half a percentage point, 1/10 of a percentage point. So when you can do something for 10 or 15 minutes before your activity and get these huge jumps in performance and longevity, aka injury risk, then I think that it is a no-brainer to be using warm-ups. So let me know in the comments below if I've convinced you so far. All right, and the how. So we want to do this. A lot of these studies have found 10 to 15 minutes is the sweet spot, and we can get all these benefits within that amount of time. Some studies showed longer warm-ups, but as we see, that is not completely necessary. And then lastly, for the how, is the intensity. About a 5 out of 10. The studies have shown 4 to 6 out of 10 effort level, or that can correlate with the talk test. So that is basically is another way of determining effort. And if you're able to use short sentences, that's a sweet spot. So if you're able to kind of have to catch your breath, but talk in slow sentences, then you know that that's a good warm-up that you've done. But if you're able to talk like I am right now, then you're not, the intensity of your warm-up is not high enough. And if you're too out of breath to say anything, then that intensity of the warm-up is way too high. So you want to be in the sweet spot at that moderate intensity. Hopefully I've convinced you guys of the importance of a warm-up. But right now, last little bit, I just want to give you guys a little bit more value as to how you can incorporate this into your training. So what I personally like to do is earlier in the day before my training, let's say I train in the afternoon or evening, just to keep things simple for this example, I might do full body mobility in the morning. So usually CARs, controlled articular rotations. That's gonna help prime my body for movement later in the day. So basic premise is if you move earlier in the day, it can help you out later. And if you do things that are more conducive to joint health, that might be a lot better for your training later on in the day, because we're gonna be hitting a lot of different things in our warm-up here. So the phases of a complete warm-up, complete meaning we are using all the methods we know from the research to get all of the benefits that we know are available through a warm-up. These 4 phases will make sure that this happens. And this is how we organize all of our warm-ups through the TrickStrongRx platform and anything that I program for any client. The first phase of a complete warm-up is priming the system. So the goal of that phase is gonna be to increase heart rate, increase breathing rate, and increase temperature, body temperature. This is to get us ready to move. We're gonna be doing this for about 2 to 5 minutes. It's gonna be continuous effort. You can do things like biking, walking, jogging, but I'm gonna be giving you guys a couple of examples of what we like to use for tricking athletes and things that we've used on the TrickStrongRx app. So the first one that I like for priming the system is our side hops, very relevant for tricking. And then number 2 are gonna be high knees, some form of that. Either high knees or mountain climbers get the core and hip flexors activated. Very important for how much we kick and jump and run. Next, we're gonna be doing activity-specific mobility. And the goal of that is to increase range of motion, increase control. We're gonna pick 3 to 5 exercises and do them for 5 to 10 reps. You're trying to pick things that are moderate intensity. Remember, for all of this, you're not trying to kill yourself, but you're also not trying to go too easy as well. We love the thoracic rotations, the lunge thoracic rotations, and the lunge thoracic rotation will prepare our hips and spine for movement. Third phase of a complete warm-up is gonna be activity-specific stability. And the goal of this phase is to limit unwanted motion. What could unwanted motion be? Imagine you're rolling your ankle. That's unwanted motion. Let's stop that. That's stability. That's stopping anything out of your control from happening. So exercises I like to incorporate for tricking athletes in this part of the warm-up are gonna be handstands or any invert press variations to mimic our handed setups, such as touchdown raise, cartwheels, round-offs. You could use a pike press push-up. Things of that nature are all excellent here. I love the Copenhagen plank. This is just really important for kicking and for tricking because it is going to help control hip and knee forces. Tend to cause groin injuries, tend to cause knee injuries, etc. This helps protect against that. And then lastly, we're gonna do a single leg calf raise to help control the ankle as well. So those are some staples that I really like to use in our programs on TrickStrongRx. And then lastly, phases of complete warm-up. It's gonna be movement prep. So it's in the name. It's preparing for movement. So after you've done all of these parts of the warm-up, now we wanna get super activity specific and just start ramping up your session or your activity, right? So in tricking, that might look like starting with some basic kicks, some leg swings, some skiers, and then just some basic tricks. So just ramping up in intensity from your more basic tricks to your more complex or advanced tricks. If you guys enjoyed this video and want a complete done-for-you warm-up for movement, as well as a warm-up series that teaches you how to construct your own warm-up for any activity, then head over to trickstrong.com and download the TrickStrongRx mobile app. That is where we have hundreds of programs, workouts, and tutorials based off of strength, mobility, power, agility demands of the movement artists, so you guys can keep doing cool shit and excel at your movement. That is what TrickStrong's here for. All right, guys, see you soon for the next one.